Here in the Northern Rockies, dark winter months are outlasted in basements, dens, and nooks, where kindred souls gather to share intel, swap fly patterns, and relive the memories from seasons past. This gathering spot, known locally as a February room, is the inspiration for this podcast. No matter the season, the door is always open to those with a fly fishing story to tell. Brought to you by CD Fishing USA, the North American distributor for Composite Development's fly rods and fishing accessories. Tech, precision, ingenuity, legacy. Go to cdfishing.us and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Here's your host, Lauren Carnop, and this is the February Room.
Welcome to the February Room. Today I have the great pleasure to talk with Linda Leary, CEO, founder of Fishe Wear, and also living the life in Anchorage, Alaska. Welcome to the show, Linda.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
So before we get into Fishe Wear, I know that you have traveled tons of places and you must have some pretty incredible fishing stories to go with it. Is there any particular story you could share with us today?
You know, a lot of my fishing, besides growing up in Maine, has been down here in Alaska. So, you know, it's such a huge state. There's all these fabulous places to fish. But to go outside of Alaska, I would say a couple of the things that are really memorable for me are bone fishing in Turks and Caicos, or we just went to Argentina last year fishing for golden dorado and for trout. And that was amazing. The golden dorado was just a blast. So,
you know, I always feel that, like, because we're from Montana, that people have this huge affliction to going to the warm water.
You're like our soulmates. You want to warm up too.
I was reading, you sold your trucking business to start Fishe Wear. Can you kind of tell a little bit about how this all started and the passion that came with it?
Yeah, I was in the trucking and logistics industry for a lot of years, and we business partners and myself sold our company, and then I was trying to figure out what to do next, you know. So one of the things that I really wanted to do is have some sort of an impact on women in fly fishing or just fishing in general, because I love it so much. And so I thought that being able to create clothing and gear for women would be super fun. So I just rented an office from a friend of mine and sat in there, and I know nothing about manufacturing or designing clothes other than I used to sew with my mom. But yeah, I just sat down and started figuring it out and asking questions. And
what brought you into fly fishing? Did it start for you as a young girl, or how'd you get involved?
Yeah, my dad fished like every day after work in the summertime. So if you wanted to hang out with him, you needed to go fishing. So my friend and I, or myself and my sister, would follow him down to the river and watch him while he fished, and we'd fish with him. Or out on the lake at night, he'd go out after dinner and fish on the lake at a stream, where a stream came in, with he and my uncle. And I could, you know, you're watching the sunset and they're just these beautiful casts and they're catching fish and you're learning how to cast with them. And that's my memories of starting out. It was a combination of gear fishing and fly fishing, but yeah, it was just beautiful, so graceful and very relaxing. Well, that's what I remember the most.
What made you jump into wanting to design fly fishing gear for women or attire for women?
Well, I think base layer clothing for women has been fairly limited, whether you're going skiing, you're fishing, or whatever it is, where it's a base layer. You know, you'd go from wearing your dad's long johns or your husband's, right, under your gear, and you're like, this is super uncomfortable. It's usually cotton, and you know, it's not warm, and I'm always cold. So I was just like trying to figure out in my head what women want. So you could go right from the river to dinner or to the grocery store with whatever you had on under your waders. And so that's when we just started thinking about the different layers that you could wear, and a breathable legging that then kind of out of that came, I love art. And so why don't we work with artists and find some fun art to put on our gear? And I'm not terribly girly, but I like stuff that is nice quality and fits well and it's functional, right?
I mean, it's such a great way to stand out on the river, that's for sure. But every time I think about fishing in Alaska, I always think that there's going to be like a grizzly bear right over your shoulder. Have you ever had any near terror experiences fishing in Alaska?
Yes. Yeah. And usually, well, we fish a lot in Western Alaska. And so you have to fly in everywhere. And so we used to take clients fishing a lot, when I was in the trucking business. So we had a customer with us and she's pretty fearless, but she and I were fishing on this narrow stream and the guide had just gone down the river to go look for, to try and look for other trout. And we looked into this tree so we walked across the stream and the tree is kind of up on a bank and I'm reaching up there to pull the fly out of the tree. And all of a sudden these two grizzly bears come up over our heads on the bank. And all we could do was just scream, bear! And we scared the bears so bad, they just ran. But holy fright, yeah, that was close. No, most of the time they'll leave you alone, but.
Where are you fishing in Alaska? Like, where's your go-to?
Probably the Kenai, and then Western Alaska, so the Naknek River, Kvichak, and that whole Western Alaska. So you fly out to King Salmon, and that whole drainage over there is pretty remarkable. And we've fished in other parts of the state too, but those are great for trout or Arctic char, which is probably one of my favorite fish.
Why is that your favorite?
Because they're beautiful. I mean, they turn bright pumpkin orange in the fall and they're big. They can get 30 inches or more. And we just got into a slew of them this fall. We had a women's trip that we had taken and you fly out to this, probably if I ever knew that I was like terminally ill, this is the place I would go. Just like, this is my last hurrah fishing trip. It's just absolutely beautiful. And it's like a thoroughfare between two bodies of water and mountains of volcanoes on each side and windswept beaches. This is absolutely gorgeous and nice fish. Lots of char.
Do you have a really memorable char catch that will last you a lifetime?
We caught some big ones this fall. They were all kind of coming into this one river at Ugashik Narrows, and they're just, bright orange. And it was really one that one of our clients caught. And she just had the biggest smile on her face. And it was just like this glorious moment. It was just beautiful. The sun was shining. There was no wind. And we were catching big char. It was just beautiful. You couldn't ask for a better trip. That was super fun.
Yeah, because you also have kind of have a women's fly fishing I saw on your website. Can you describe a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, so it's a 30-year-old company based here in Alaska. It was started by a lady named Pudge Kleinkoff. And Pudge, very involved with the fly fishing industry throughout the years. She's written 5 books about fly fishing and mostly geared towards women. But she wanted to transition, and so we wanted to carry on her legacy. So we bought her company. And so we offer instruction, which we're doing online now, and then guided trips for women and couples. And so we have a couple of trips this summer, but there's a quarantine, so we're focusing mostly on Alaska gals this summer. But hopefully that'll turn around for next season or later this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how the quarantine has really affected every state. I mean, Alaska, just like Montana, is such a tourist industry, and you guys probably require people to go out there and start fishing.
Yes, it's going to be tough on the industry to survive it, but they will. The ones that have been doing it for a long time, and I think you just have to be creative. It requires a lot of pivoting and doing something different than you haven't done in the past. Luckily for us on the clothing and gear side, we had an online presence, so that's been really helpful. And we have a showroom/office here in Anchorage, so it's been yeah, we really appreciate the support everybody's been giving us. It's been great. But it's gonna, yeah, definitely changes
I
things.
mean, your patterns on everything is so beautiful, and I know you said you have an artist that helps out with that. How does how did you choose her, and how does she come up with these designs? Like, how do you go through the process of like, this is what we're gonna do? I need a grayling legging.
So we actually have a few different artists that we're working with, and what we normally do is we take a photo of a fish and then share it with the artist and ask them for their rendition of how it would look in a fun kind of female way. And we have one artist that's done quite a few of them, and plus a couple other artists that we've added in. And as we've kind of learned about what we like and what works well to abstract, then we've come up with some guidelines. But mostly, I'm a big believer. I like to see artists express themselves and to see how it comes out. So we've just been lucky to have some great artists.
So what's the next fishing adventure for you right now? I mean, is it in Alaska, or do you have some plans to go travel outside of Alaska?
So even in Alaska right now, there's certain areas you can't travel to because they're only, 1% of the state is actually privately held and has, and there's limited road access to the state. There's only a small corridor of roads. Everything else is air. So small villages won't allow people to come in right now. So one fish that I really want to get is called a sheepfish, and it's a tarpon of the north. And it's up in northwestern Alaska. And that's just not a region that you could actually go into right now or would want to, mostly because of worrying about spreading the virus and anybody getting sick. So that's a fish that I really want to go after. And we have some trips this summer over in Western Alaska with some groups of women. And, probably one of the favorite things I love is fall fishing up here. So October, and going after big trout. My first 30-inch trout a couple years ago. And it's just, they're monsters. They're so fun. And there's always that elusive Walter, they call it. It's out there. So
I want to hear about this 30-inch fish that you caught. Can you tell me a little bit about how that all happened and came together?
Yeah, I was out fishing with my friend Kate Crump, or Kate Taylor, and we were on the Neck River, and it was probably late in the afternoon, and we were spey casting, and so we were out, we were in pretty deep water. It was so deep that at one point, I think I lost my footing, and both Kate and I were like pirouetting around each other in circles, trying to get our footing back because we were almost both going down, and they were like, okay, get our feet down. We cast a few more because she was trying to get me out further. And then I hooked into this big trout and on a spey rod, and we were just jumping up and down, and it was like so exciting. And it was a 30-incher. And then the next day we got weathered in, and I fished with her husband Justin, and I got another one. And that never happens.
It must be the luck of the clothing wear that you're wearing. Like maybe Fishe Wear can also bring you some really good luck. Good vibes means good catches.
Yeah. I'm like, holy cow. I couldn't even talk about it for a while because it was just like, it was so exciting.
Do you do a lot of catch and release, or in Alaska, because I think I saw that you guys canned some of your salmon, which looks delicious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mostly catch and release unless it's salmon. Everything else is catch and release primarily. So whether or trout, of course, and then we'll fish for grayling up north and Dolly Varden, and everything else is just like we just let it go and let it grow bigger. But salmon, of course, then you get too much salmon and you're like, you can't eat anymore. That's why you're canning in the spring to make room in your freezer.
Have you ever had a fishing predicament while you were on the river or maybe out in the ocean?
I've been with people that have hooked themselves, and you're trying to figure out how to get it out, right? And that's one thing we teach with our classes is how to remove hooks. Me, there's been times when I've gone out with clients and where you have to really be careful, right? And so you're practicing, or you're telling them things to do to be safe, and then you do something silly like fall backwards over the backside of the raft, end up in the water, and you don't have a change of clothes with you, right? That's dangerous. And there's no road to get out of there. So you're in the guide's clothes for the rest of the day.
Well, and hopefully the guide has some Fishe Wear stuff, base layers.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Alaska is kind of really the last frontier. What draws you to living in Alaska?
I moved up here right out of college, and when I first moved here, the average age was 26. It's a very young state. And I think now it's like maybe in the mid-30s, but still. So I think it's the young feel of the state. It's the beauty, of course. And I always believe that there's opportunities, and you can make of it what you want to. And I think that it's just such a little microcosm that allows you to start companies like Fishe Wear and get them kicked off. And it's kind of like what we did with our trucking company. We started in Alaska, and then we expanded to the lower 48. And Fishe is the same way. And now we have wholesalers, a sales team we put together that's selling in the lower 48. But Alaska allows you to create that kind of stuff.
Kind of make your own way, your own path, and your own frontier, basically, by starting your own business. So when you're on the river, what are you guys fishing at? Like, what are you fishing out there with?
I really like big streamers myself. And we, like when we're out for trout, it's, Dalai Lamas and big flies or mouse patterns and stuff like that. And I noticed even when we were in Argentina, we were in Patagonia area this last year fishing, and it's fast water and you're in a raft. And my most favorite thing was just chucking a fly really hard and fast. And I don't know why, it was a wicked workout, but it was so fun.
If someone's wanting to purchase something, what's the best way for them to get a hold of a Fishe Wear gear and attire?
Well, we have a website. It's fishewear.com, and you can go on there and buy online, or you can also look at our list of retailers, and that's been updated. There's several retailers in the States that carry our products. So that's always an option, and we like to have to support them as well as much as we can. And but yeah, right online, and we have free shipping right now. And or if you're here, if anybody's in Anchorage listening, they can come by our store front.
Well, and you can always check them out on Instagram and see all the salmon that you guys are catching, and a lot of people who live in the city who don't get the opportunity. It's really cool to see all your guys' new adventures that you have going on, and in such beautiful, fashionable, fantastic attire too. So thank you so much for chatting with me today, Linda, and keep up the fabulous job in the functional attire for women. And I can't wait to see what comes up.
Well, thank you, Lauren. I appreciate it. And you guys have a great weekend.
Yes, you too.
For the inside scoop on the fly patterns we've discussed with our guest, check our blog for Flies of the February Room. If you would like to enter the February Room, shoot us an email at info@cdfishing.us. Also, remember to subscribe, share, and if we've earned it, give us those 5 stars. Thanks for dropping by, and remember to go fishing.